I don't really know where to start with this story I'm about to tell you. My name is Richard, and I am a doctor, but I also am part of a group who investigates the supernatural and paranormal. Mostly it's old houses, cold spots, energy spikes. People have said they have seen apparitions and things like that. The case I'm about to tell you about is something out of the ordinary. It all started with a young man whose name was Thomas. Thomas was sickly and spent most of his time in his house due to a bad heart. Most of his interaction was through social media such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. One morning they found Thomas dead in his apartment. Apparently he had died from a heart attack during the night, and the horror started 3 weeks after Thomas' burial. Some friends on Facebook opened up the Facebook page one morning and saw a message from Thomas saying, "Good morning." Now the relatives of Thomas had kept his Facebook profile active as a memorial thing. So everybody assumed it was a bad joke, and they wrote, "I have seen these writings and these posts myself, and so have my colleagues, and we have documented them." So they wrote back, "What kind of sick joke is this?" And the answer was, "What do you mean?" And then nothing more. A couple of days later, another post showed up saying, "I think I'm going to have dinner. It's been a long day." And once again, everybody thought it was a bad joke. And this continued for at least 2 weeks. Random posts on Facebook. And the relatives were upset, of course, and the friends were upset. But the thing took a turn for the, worse, when one of Thomas's friends got a Skype call from Thomas. Nervously she answered the call, but there was no one on the other side, just a picture of his bed made fine, and there was nothing else. So they gathered together, Thomas's friends, and they contacted us. And we went through the material, including the Skype video which were filmed. It's hard for me to discuss this because I'm feeling watched, even as we speak. So we got a clearance from Thomas's relatives to enter his home, and it was untouched. They hadn't done much more than cleaned up a little bit, and the bed was covered in dust, and his iPad, which he usually used to communicate, was still on the bed. No battery left. Nothing. So we spent the day setting up cameras, EVP meters, everything we could think about. And nothing really happened at first. So we thought this must have been some kind of hoax. Then one of our computers lit up, and it was a Skype call, and the name was from Thomas. Now this is hard for me to talk about. I have never experienced something like this before. We answered the call, and the picture showed the bed on which we were sitting, but we weren't showing. Instead, he was there, talking to us. And he said, "What are you doing in my house? What are you doing here? I just want to be left alone." And I took the courage and I said, "Don't you know that you are dead?" And he said, "What are you talking about? I'm alone here. I have been alone here for a long time." So I did the only thing I could do. I took a mirror and I directed it at the screen so he can see for himself. I will never forget that bloated thing looking in horror, and then the screen went black. And through the house we could hear a scream in agony, anger, hate. We left the house, and nobody has heard from him since. No Facebook messages, no strange Skype calls. But I can still see him in the corner of my eye, in the mirrors, in the dark corners of my house. That look, that bloated thing, that thing that should not be alive. That thing, oh my God, I think he's watching me right now. I can feel him behind my shoulder. I can. The smell. He's here.